Hey, I'm Corey Pitt, CEO and co-founder of Wiser AI. We're building just-in-time enablement and coaching to up-level sales reps in the buyer experience while unlocking data-driven strategies for sales leaders. Today, we're going to be speaking with Andrew Johnston about coaching and artificial intelligence in sales. Andrew's the head of sales over at Superhuman, and prior to that, he served in various sales leadership roles at Scale AI and Twilio.
Yeah, thanks, Corey, and appreciate you having me. I'm excited to chat. Yeah, a little brief background about myself. I'm currently head of sales at Superhuman. Been here for about 8, 9 months. Been a user of Superhuman for about 6 years, so intimately familiar with the product. Prior to that, I spent a bunch of time inside of more developer-led tools, so places like Twilio, SendGrid. That's where I got a lot of my brunt of my experience. Before that, I was at a small e-commerce startup, and I got my career start actually in the entertainment business. So a lot of different dips and dives over the years. Yeah, really excited to be chatting today.
Awesome. And I'd love for you to tell me a little bit more about Superhuman. How's the go-to-market motion there unique from other past roles?
Yeah, it's very different. I think it's the first company that I've come to where it's started as a B2C company and still has a large focus on that. And now we're moving more into B2B, which is really where I was brought on to help with and focus the team and the sales org on. So that's different, number one. It's a product-led company, which I am used to. Twilio and SendGrid were very much that way, but the motion is very different. You're targeting a lot of individuals who are using the product today, super users, similar to myself prior to me even joining, and then using that as a land point or a point to jump off of to go ask, hey, what is your team using? You're highly productive on the tool. Could we potentially bring more of your organization onto Superhuman and see the impact be multiplicative across the organization? A little bit different motion. It's not kind of that use case with the developer or specific problem solve. It's more applicable to a lot of different broader roles inside of many organizations.
Since the sales motion is a little bit different there, is there anything unique about the sellers that you look for your team?
One, it's this thing, I think it's actually very similar to developer tools, right? And when I look for sellers and developer tools, you're looking for people who aren't like that super tops down. I want to sell you something, not a car salesman approach. I think that's too far of an analogy, but super aggressive. With developers, you want to make sure that they feel comfortable, right? They don't like salespeople as it is. And so you want to make sure that you are meeting them where they're at, bringing them to the table, answering their questions and being a trusted advisor. And I think the same is true of Superhuman. A lot of times we're dealing with C-suite executives who initially adopt the product or director plus individuals. They're not necessarily like asking for a sales conversation. We're reaching out to them and saying, hey, Corey, you are a super user of Superhuman. Here's your stats. Here's what you've been able to accomplish. You're also a sales leader. Why don't we think about bringing this to the rest of your team? Like, you seem to love the product. Is that true? And what would it look like if the rest of your team also had that superpower in using the tool? So it's a little bit of a different approach than, hey, I got to sell you something, because in a lot of cases, these users aren't ready for that and also are understanding of what the tool can do.
Yeah. And I'm hearing trusted advisor in a lot of the different conversations that I'm having. Given so many companies are talking about generative AI and machine learning right now, would you be able to tell me how you're currently thinking about how you can use AI at Superhuman to optimize your own sales process?
Certainly, Superhuman has taken a really strong approach. It's a key pillar to where we're building now and then into the future. When you think about email drafting, how we're drafting those emails together, creating less time in non-revenue generating activities for sellers and helping them optimize the conversation so they can respond happier or faster to customers, so that they're not sitting at the end of the day and being like, I've got 40 different follow-ups from calls today. They can do that in a better way. And so we're trying to enable sellers to do things like that. And then down the road, things like email optimization, what email should you respond to now, auto drafting, that sort of thing comes into play. And that's where Superhuman's headed next. Outside of Superhuman email, thinking a lot about what are the tools that we can invest in that are going to, again, accelerate that sales process, but also make data capture and understanding of our customers more effective. Is that tools that can help us automate CRM fill-ins, right?
Yeah.
Is it tools that can help us understand, do we have a champion or an economic buyer involved, and analyze the calls and the conversations that we have, whether it's across email, phone, or a video call. And so it's really all about data capture, sales process streamlining, and the movement across like what we can do to make it easier on the reps,
Yeah.
even down to sales process and operations. That's another area that we're focused on as well.
Yeah. And how do you think that all of those functionalities can improve the rep experience?
And I want them to be talking to customers. And what happens is, I think we've lived in this world where tools have gotten better where they've pulled people back. Tools like a Scratchpad where you can edit Salesforce fields, gives time back to the reps, makes them focused on less things that are not what they want to be doing, but it's still not perfect. So when I think about AI, there's a huge opportunity. I can focus on being more with the customer, whether that's on a call, I have to be taking notes, right? I can have an AI copilot do that for me. I can have it suggest edits in the CRM based on what it heard on that call. So really it becomes my companion. If I had my own assistant who is doing all that information for me, I can really focus on how do I create the best customer experience? How do I provide the most relevant value to that customer? And how do I be the most responsive I can be? Because as we all know, time kills all deals. And so I think it's those three things that I think a lot about. And when you get down to it, sellers really want to be selling and get to their number. And so we're enabling them to get to their number faster.
For leaders listening that might be thinking about adopting new tools that help with some of the functionality that you mentioned, CRM updates, that companion that helps you navigate calls. One of the concerns that I often hear is, how do I know I can trust the system to not hallucinate or provide my reps with bad information? How do you get yourself over that hurdle to the point of adopting new tools that can save your reps this time and make them more effective?
Yeah, it's definitely a concern. I think, at my time at Scale, I saw a lot of the LLMs being trained. And so I've seen firsthand what hallucinations can look like and the kind of the lack of trust that you need to have sometimes, at least in today's state of these AI LLMs and products. I would say the biggest thing is don't just adopt, right? Don't just say, this is now, we've got this AI tool, whatever it is, even Superhuman included, it is now my problem solve for writing all my emails, right? I don't have to look at anything. I'm just going to click send and go. You're going to really screw up and you're going to piss off people. What I would say is, number one, if it just bolts on and it's like getting in the way, there's probably a lot of tools where they're adding AI where it's really not effective. Like it's not actually adding to the experience. It's creating another thing to do when the cost benefit relationship isn't there. So making sure that is there, number one. And number two is you still have to have a human involved. Like I'll talk about for Superhuman, we think about this world where you can open up your email and all your emails or all your conversations from the previous day are A, prioritized based on importance, based on you as a seller. And then B, there's 3 or 4 drafts of each email that you can send. Well, it's not sending those for you. You still have to review them and make sure it's the right one, but it's massively saving you time. You are the curator. So there's a day when it may not have to do that, but you have to curate all the messaging. So that would be my biggest thing is make sure that you've got your people involved.
When you think about the company objectives that you're trying to solve with tooling for this quarter, this month, what are some of those objectives that you're trying to achieve? And how do you think tooling can help you achieve those goals?
The first one is we just rolled out MEDDIC as a methodology. And I'm trying to get more stringent around not only the large deals having a MEDDIC qualification, but all deals having a MEDDIC qualification. Or even if it's not a gating feature, larger deals we actually gate based on, do you have a champion or do you have an economic buyer engaged? But it's really interesting to know that information. And so if I capture that without the rep having to be super conscious, especially if it's at like that higher velocity deal cycle, that information is valuable because then I can query on it. I can learn from it. Like maybe we can speed up those velocity deals in other ways based on who we target or we change our ICP. That's area number one. The second one is sales operations. It kind of ties into the first one, but how can you automate reporting? How can you build out things that are a lot easier, that are surface level language that every AE, every SDR, every manager can help augment what their RevOps person or analytics team can do, because those resources are usually pretty finite, especially inside of startups and even inside of large companies. And the last one is sell faster. What are the tools that provide us information real time, help us understand our customers better, can provide more contextual augmentation, as you call it, I think is the last one that I'm thinking a lot about.
For the reporting that you want your account executives and sales managers looking at when they're engaging with their accounts, what are some of the questions and answers that they should be looking for within those engagements?
Sales managers, the more information, the better. What does stage look like? Are we getting stuck in a stage? And then based on that stage, do we not have a champion engaged? Are we not getting the right pain? Does a deal close out early or falls short after, or lose at a certain stage because certain information is missing? AI tooling has the ability to provide that information more quickly. A lot of reps and many sales managers, even many VPs, can't function without an analytics team and can't function without a RevOps person. Like they're okay at developing reporting instead of Salesforce. How can you self-serve more reporting? Because I think if I as a rep or I as the manager can say, I know what I want to get, and I can tell a tool to help pull or give me that extraction, I think that there's going to be a lot better insight or a lot more adaptive selling that happens based on that insight. Otherwise, people are just going off what's given to them, which isn't very robust today.
And when it comes to automatically tracking medic or a companion that can basically look for those medic fields and automatically populate the CRM, I'm assuming part of it's due to your CRM hygiene. You want to better understand these customers and the state of those deals and be able to perform analysis over those deals. Tell me about the negative impact of not having that data today. What are you losing by not having access to that information?
I think, for Superhuman specifically, we are missing information to create really quick insights that can go, back to our product team or engineering team to build, right? So not only does it change ICP positioning, things that may help us sell better and be more effective in our selling motion, but it also may help us capture, could we solve this with a product gap? I'll give you an example. Superhuman has a calendar feature. We've had people tell us, hey, I would just buy all Superhuman. I would kill Calendly and I would just use Superhuman if you had all the different features that were there. And that actually may be something where if we look at the value of the price point we're charging, if we added those things in and we could capture that even at the low level deals, or it was understood the low level deals, we might be able to go say, well, now we know what the size of opportunity is across all these different deals that we're losing, small and large, and then translate that into a product feature that we build. And so I think there's not only data around like how the sales team can improve, but there's also data around the voice of the customer that might be missing that other teams can use and interpret.
100%. What you just mentioned is why we decided to build that within Wiser. I want to transition the topic a little bit here over to coaching your reps and a little bit of call intelligence, given we've been talking about that quite a bit here.
Sure.
So when it comes to coaching your reps, what are some of the practices that work and don't work, in your opinion?
First off, you should come into call coaching with an objective, right? So I always try to listen to it beforehand, and I always make the rep or the manager, if it's a manager wanting my advice, to say, what am I looking for? Is it customer engagement, discovery? Like, what is the thing that we're coaching around? I think if you do broad blanket, it's hard to be too prescriptive and provide the right coaching. The second thing is why we adopted Medic was to have a methodology that we're all aspiring to. So did you get the metrics? Do you know what the pain is? Do you know the decision process depending on where that call is? And so that really helps provide a framework of coaching. Some of the don'ts are, just like send me a call, tell me what I did, right? That doesn't really help me. Also, I'll go into the weeds and it doesn't really focus anything. Hey, I as the rep am trying to get better at why. That also can help. So I think being very focused, and then I can look for themes across the calls that rep has, right?
When you think of your existing call recorder solution and how your team's approaching call recorders, are there any gaps that you wish the call recorders could help your team with that they're not today?
It's probably a dream state, Corey, would be more push rather than pull. So what I mean by that is right now it's a rep saying, hey, listen to this call, or I want to get better at Y over Q2. Can I send you a call a week and we'll talk about that thing, or understand how I can be better at that? You have to pull that information out, right? You've got to send the call, you've got to pull it out. What I think is there somewhat, but could be a lot better, is either me setting a filter or the rep setting a filter and pulling out those snippets, the pieces of where someone did good or someone did bad based on the qualification we have, and delivering that to me in a very timely manner. What happens today is, one, you have every intention as a sales leader, especially as a VP, to go say, I'm going to listen to as many calls as possible. Yeah. It doesn't happen. You usually try to figure out where is the moment of impact, and then you listen to that moment of impact, and sometimes you miss the whole context. And B, it's also hard to sift through, is this the right call to listen to? Is there another call that's better? And I think there's probably an opportunity for new technologies and AI to pull that out and push more of that information to me so I can make it more impactful and coach in the moment versus 2 weeks later, I finally get a chance to watch the call and, hey, here's what I think about that. And then all context is lost for the rep, right? So
do you think there's a future in which playing back calls to listen to them for coaching opportunities goes away?
There probably is a world where it goes away. To a certain extent. Corey, you could be better in XYZ things. Here's where you did a good job, and it's a grading. But I also think there's an element of, just like real-time communication, how do you say those things? What is your demeanor? And you can't really get that without listening to at least a part of that call. Maybe it's that it pulls out themes of a rep doing things that are good and things that they could improve on. And then you can use that as a lens to sit on an actual live call with a customer, and you can have this zone of information and you evaluate based on the things that the AI has evaluated over hopefully hundreds of calls. Yeah. Or maybe it's something where you can just pull up those snippets that are really impactful and it gives a clear example so you never have to listen to the full call. But I still think there's probably things we need to listen to calls for? Do you fiddle with your pen and you're looking away the entire time, right? That might not be captured by the AI recorder, but it's super important in addition to, did you capture discovery questions the right way?
So to recap here, it sounds like it can augment, but at the end of the day, there will still be a place for listening to calls and making sure that you're actually understanding kind of the full picture, bringing all those different data points together, in your opinion.
I think so. Given what you're building, I'd be curious to get your take, but that's my thought.
Yeah, I think it will be. I think one of the things AI can do here is extract clips extremely effectively. But unfortunately, I think it is difficult to completely automate that process away. Now, the current state of things where you have managers that set quotas for themselves in terms of, I'm going to listen to a certain number of hours per week of my sales team's calls because that's what they perceive their function as. I think that will go away nearly entirely, or 90% of that will go away. That coaching will be done as, here's a clip that needs coaching on based off of what this rep is currently trying to improve in terms of their performance. Manager, please take a look at this and provide insights and comments. One of the other areas that we're looking to implement within our product is, if the manager adds a comment to a past video of a sales pitch, how do we bake that comment into the strategy of the next sales calls that rep is going to have? Can we make sure that those lessons that a coach is trying to enforce across their team are getting top, front, and center for sales reps going into their next calls? Because what you end up with, at least from what I found, is you have a lot of different opinions when it comes to coaching, a lot of different things that sales reps are trying to remember. And unless it's top, front, and center, it's very difficult to bring all those lessons into the next conversation. And I think that's one area where AI can help going into those next conversations. How do we be better based off of what happened in the last conversation? For sales leaders that want to uplevel their own performance, where would you recommend they start, and what questions should they be asking themselves to find areas for growth?
A lot of current VPs or head of sales or sales managers used to be the rep, right? They used to be the person that was so good at selling. I even find myself in this way today. I'm now a couple layers removed from being a rep, and you still want to get into the deals and you want to try to orchestrate them yourself. And so for sales leaders who really want to be impactful, is try to carve out time in your calendar to take a step back and do the things that are strategic thinking, that give you white space. Maybe that is listening to certain elements of calls or areas that you want to focus on. But I think what a lot of people do is they focus on win, 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 win. How do I get this next big deal in the closed one? How do I help the rep close this thing, even as the VP, when they should be thinking about, how do I accelerate the entire organization? Like, what things am I going to implement that is going to move our org from a $5 million ARR annual organization to a $10 or $20 million target? What comes from that is identifying trends, getting close to the customers to understand what those trends are, and then molding your sales process around that, and then figuring out what tools or things that you need to implement to make that sales process a reality. By doing that, you're not only going to win more deals and make yourself as a sales leader look good, but you're also going to have a better scope of the business and can talk more intelligently to other organizations inside. So you can say to product, this is a customer-led insight that I think we have, or we've got to change. Or to marketing, we're missing the mark here on this ICP targeting, and here's why. And if we iterate on this, you become like the expert in the room because you have the voice of the customer. A lot of sales leaders miss that. Reps too, but sales leaders in particular, because they're so focused on hit the number, hit the number, hit the number. They don't take time to step back and really understand what are the things and the problems that the business is facing. What is the pain that our solution is solving for? And really understanding, like, why did I go win, or why did a rep go win that like outsized deal in an ICP or a market that we didn't think was winnable? There's always those outliers. And I think as a sales leader, you have to study those and figure out, was that actually a true outlier, or is there something repeatable there? Because let's say that deal was a 200K ARR deal when the rest of your deals have been 25K. Well, if I can go land 5 of those, that's an absolute game changer. And I think people get so stuck on, I got to convert the next set of leads to go in more of those 5K or 20K opportunities. When if I go convert one of the ones that's 200K and I can make that more repeatable, what does that look like versus everything else? It's both sides. One, it's certainly optimizing for your current sales process. Where are we losing? Where are we winning? What can we improve on, and the why? But also, what are the macro trends of what's this solving?
So it sounds like you're suggesting sales leaders move from this ultra sales focused mindset to more of a GM PM mindset when they think about their revenue generation and areas that they should be attacking within the market. It's not just how do I optimize our sales process, but it's also how do I find new opportunities for growth outside of our existing sales process that will allow us to really 10x what we're generating today.
I tell reps, managers that my biggest thing as leaders, I'm going to give you the opportunity to act like a GM or act like an owner. Come to me with the problems, but also solutions that you think that are inside of your patch, right? That is true for everything. And that's exactly right. If you're just focused on selling, you can be good. You maybe even be able to be great. But if you can focus on being a GM, like you're operating a business in your sales patch or as the VP or as the manager, you can be exceptional. That's the difference. So I think you've got to uncover those trends and really ask those deep questions to figure out why.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. Well, I think we can end it on that. Andrew, thank you so much again for your time. This has meant a lot. And I'm looking forward to hearing this. So yeah, thanks again.
Awesome. Thanks, Corey. Have a good one.
If you're interested in implementing some of the processes I discussed with Andrew around CRM automation, augmented coaching, and speeding up your sales process with tailored intelligence and reporting, don't hesitate to reach out. I'll throw my email down below. This was one of my favorite episodes, largely due to the conversation really covering a lot of the impetus and reasoning behind our team building Wiser. We've got a great lineup coming with Brad Rosen, the president at Sales Assembly, Baz Sinesi, the CRO over at ARC. And if you'd like to learn more about Wiser or the podcast, just reach out to me in the email available below. Thanks again for listening.